This is another Making Comics 101 quick tip. Greetings, people of the internet. I'm Scott with Serkworks Art Labs. Welcome, mad creators, to the underground laboratory where together we are going to create some awesome comics, because this is Making Comics 101. This is a quick tip. Do these every Friday. So if you've been watching, we've been talking a little bit about world building. We did an episode on world building, and then we did sort of a little exercise last Wednesday on world building, and now is a quick tip. And this is, sort of has to do with world building too. Now, when we are building our worlds, we create these awesome universes or settings that our stories take place in, and sometimes we spend a lot of time on those. It really is a cool part of the comic or just storytelling process. So we've got our world, put a lot of time into it and everything, and we really like it, and then we start telling our story. But just because we love our world and we've built this awesome world, it doesn't necessarily mean that our story is going to be good. And that sometimes is where we fall into a little bit of a trap. Now, I know a lot of people have trouble with writer's block, creator's block, artist block, whatever you want to call it. And that does come into play when we start telling our stories, like where we go, or you know, I've created these characters that live in this world and I'm starting to tell them, but it's just not, I'm kind of stuck. I don't know where to go from here. Well, I was recently reminded of an awesome, it's just one thing that you can think about, one word that can kind of help you get out of that. I was just listening to a podcast. It's the Comic Lab podcast, hosted by Dave Kellett and Brad Geiger. If you're not familiar with this podcast, I highly recommend it, especially for comic book creators. So if you're a cartoonist in general, I like I said, and they're super entertaining, so I would definitely check it out. I'll try to remember to leave a link in the description. That could be a quick tip on its own, just telling you go watch these guys, because they've got tons of stuff. But they reminded me of a technique that I've used before and that I kind of forgot about. But this comes in very handy when you've got this world that you've built, but you're kind of struggling with the story. It's just one simple question that you ask yourself, or that you tell yourself, that can kind of reframe something if you are stuck with something like this. And that is, meanwhile. So just say to yourself, meanwhile. So if you're, like I said, you've got your stories, you're telling it, everything, and it's not clicking and everything, but you have this awesome world. Maybe there's another story in that world that it could be better served. Or if you kind of go off on this, I don't want to say a tangent, but if you say meanwhile and you start telling another story in the same exact world, maybe it can help you with the original story as well. And you see this all the time in Star Wars. Star Wars just has like this vast universe that everything takes place in. And sometimes we kind of stick with kind of this core group of characters and we follow them around, and that's cool, but there's so many other stories that we can tell. You're seeing that now with The Mandalorian, and that could be sort of a meanwhile story, because it's, you know, it happens at a time where other things are already happening or have just wrapped up or whatever, but this is in a totally separate part of the universe. And you could do that a million times over in the Star Wars universe, since it's so vast. So if you've got this awesome world and you're telling a story, it's just not working, it doesn't necessarily mean to scrap the whole idea. Just say meanwhile, and maybe there's some other characters out on the fringes or something that you can bring in and tell their story. And like I said, maybe in doing so you'll get an even better story, or maybe it'll help kind of spark some of those other ideas for your original story you were telling. So that's my tip for today. Just ask meanwhile. Yeah, I just think that's an awesome tip and something I need to think about more, because like I said, I've done it before, but I kind of forgot about it. So definitely a good reminder. I think that's going to do it for today's quick tip, but I will be back next week with an all new episode, and then follow that with another bonus exercise and then another quick tip, and we'll keep doing this for a while. So thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you guys later. That is all. Hey, thanks for watching. If you like what you saw and you want to see more, hit that subscribe button. Also, you can follow me at Serkworks on social media, and now you can support the work that I do on Patreon. Do you like making comics? Then go to Serkworks.com and pick up the Comic Maker Starter Kit. It's packed full of fonts, brushes, templates, and more. And best of all, it's totally free.